On this episode of Locked On Angels, Yusei Kikuchi is now my favorite Halo, and it's because of something that he said over the weekend. Hasn't even thrown a pitch for us, but he's now my favorite. I'm going to tell you what he said and why his words are meaningful, more meaningful than just performance on the field right now. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. Yesterday's show, a lot of really good takes, a lot of really smart takes. We have smart everydayers here at Locked On Angels. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. You can download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Happy Tuesday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our third off season here at Locked On Angels. We've been fans of this team our whole lives, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be talking Angels baseball with you Monday through Friday, every single weekday. And then around December 15th, we'll be dropping down to 3 episodes a week, where we kind of take a winter break, so to speak, and then we'll ramp back up to 5 once the spring training arrives. It's like the week before spring training, and so we'll ramp back up around that time. On today's show, Yusei Kikuchi had a lot to say this past weekend, and it fired us all up. Mike, you said that Yusei is your new favorite Angel. Why is that?
Yeah, let me talk about what he said. He was interviewed on Japanese television. The episode aired November 30th, and he was asked to explain why he decided to sign with the Angels. Now, before we give the answer, Johnny, I'd like to speak to a bit of the narrative that's out there currently.
Ooh, often, come on. I ranted yesterday, and now it's your turn to do a little bit of that as well. So there you go.
Okay, so often you'll hear nobody wants to come here, or you'll hear no good players want to be here. I'm not even doing the voice. I got to do the voice too. Or you'll hear no player wants to sign here because they want to go somewhere else and win, right? Or players that sign here just want to take it easy, like Mike Trout. He doesn't care. He's not, who cares about being loyal, right? So that narrative is out there, right? That's everywhere. Sure. And here's the thing. Those narratives are in response to 10 years of no playoffs and the last 5 years of really not even being competitive. And some of that is well-deserved, and some of that is well-earned. You can't lose 10 straight years and think it's not going to impact your franchise or your brand. Artie, are you listening? And so we've often said at Locked On Angels, for the Angels to improve the narrative, to change the narrative, and to attract really quality free agent pitchers and players, it's probably going to take a little bit more money and maybe even another year on the contract that you can get some of these really quality players out there. And I look at Yusei Kikuchi as a pretty quality player. So that's something that you're going to have to do in order to change the narrative, in order to change the brand, right? And so that is something that I think that the Angels did a little bit. They stretched a little bit to get Yusei Kikuchi. They didn't go too many years. They did 3 years, and they didn't give way too much money, but it is $21 million a year. And so there was some numbers that said that was right, spot on, right? But overall, that narrative is out there, and there's a lot of conversation. Man, these players just don't want to come to the Halos. And we know that a part of that narrative, again, is earned, but there's also a piece of the narrative where this isn't a team that looks to be ready to compete and even compete for a playoff spot or go to the World Series. We know coming to Anaheim isn't easy to draw people like it might be in LA or in New York or some other places, maybe even Atlanta. That'd be a place where I think people would really like to go. There's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of issues. But if someone of quality comes to Anaheim,
Let's talk about your big butt.
Your big butt, Simone. If someone wants to come to Anaheim, there is a chance to do what I think is pretty incredible. They have a chance to help reframe this franchise and the story that this franchise is telling. They have a chance to help the Halos become a competitive team for the first time in many, many years and help fans really enjoy this team once again. I mean, for crying out loud, we have everydayers, you and I are included in that watch this team all of the time and they haven't been good. So if this team was good, can you imagine the joy and the excitement that we would have just doing this show, John?
6-game win streak in like July this year, and it was the best week of all of our lives that year. And even on the show, it was like, I don't like to do a little inside baseball very often, but it was like, here's our regular numbers, doing really good. And then 6 games in a row of a win. It was like way up here. Hey, come on, people. Let's talk Halo baseball.
We doubled in downloads and we doubled in views that 6-game winning streak. So we won a winning team. And here's one of the things that you and I've talked about, and I've talked about it on the show as well. Any player that comes here has a great opportunity to put their fingerprints on something that hasn't been good. I've talked about it this way. There's a difference between a thumb drive and fingerprints. One, thumb drive, it builds upon what's already planted, what's already good, what's already growing. But fingerprints is you being able to plant something good and build something. And you're not jumping on the coattails of those that came before you or a winning team, and then you just joined a winning team. Coming to the Angels is an opportunity to build something brand new, to reframe the story for the Halos. And I share all of this because it connects with what Yusei Kikuchi said about coming to the Halos. And Johnny, personally, it really fired me up.
Yeah, his decision to sign with the Angels, Kikuchi said, it was an immediate decision. The biggest reason for coming to Anaheim was that I really wanted to end the 10-year streak of not appearing in the postseason. How kind of Yusei Kikuchi to look around the league and say, you know what, Angels, let's stop that losing streak. Come on. But anyway, he said, I thought the Angels had the ability to win the championship even when I was on another team. And of course, he's played with Seattle. He's played with the Blue Jays, and then he played with the Astros for a bit. He said, after transferring to the Angels, first of all, I want to pitch as part of the rotation throughout the season and bring as many wins as possible to the team. Mike, isn't this the kind of guy that we've been longing for, we've been searching for, we've been hoping for? Somebody who sees this franchise and says, hey, I want to turn that around. I want to be part of the turnaround for that franchise, and I want to be remembered as one of the guys who helped did it. That's something that we've been discussing for a real long time. It's part of the reason why we thought Shohei Ohtani might re-sign with the Angels over, prior to last offseason. We thought, hey, if he wants to be enshrined forever in baseball history and be the guy who helps turn this franchise around, like, there's the opportunity right in front of you. And so obviously Yusei is not Shohei. However, to have his arm in the rotation and say, you know what, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to get out there and pitch as much as I can. By the way, he's like the pinnacle of health. So you got any wood nearby? I'm going to knock on some wood here because I shouldn't do that because then my dog will bark and interrupt the show. Anyway, all of that to say, Mike, this is the kind of guy that we've been hoping would look at the Angels and say, hey, you know what? Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, those are some dudes I want to play with. And they're going to be there for a while, and I want to be there for a while. I want to help elevate this franchise. And so I'm going to go there and see what we can do together. That's the attitude we've been looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's what we want. Now, I know that most players, probably all players, are really looking to be financially taken care of. And so when they go and sign wherever they sign, I don't critique them for that. Don't blame them for that. But what I love about this quote and the players that I love to see on my team and the people that I personally want to work with in real life are the ones that go, oh, it's broken? Okay, let's fix it. Let's heal it.
Yeah.
Let's redeem it. Let's reconcile it.
with Ron Washington too. It's like, why would Ron Washington's wanted to be a manager for so long and he's going to go to the Angels? It's like, right, because he sees a situation and goes, yeah, I can fix that. Like,
yeah.
What's the analogy we used? I think in 2022 and 2023, it was like you have this clay, right? You have this Angels team that's a ball of clay, and it's misshapen, it's formless. You've got people in charge who like water, clay. What do I do with all this? Where's the wheel, right? And then you have somebody like Ron Washington and his coaching staff, or even Yusei Kikuchi coming in and saying, "Man, if I could just get my hands on that clay, I could really make something special out of this team." I think we began that process last year. I know on paper it doesn't look great. I was actually doing some writing today, and I'll share that article soon. But you think about the fact they went 63-99, but you also have to remember that they traded away some of their best relievers, as they rightfully should have. They also had to replace injured players with guys who have been career minor leaguers. No offense to them, but you're just like, they're destined for 63-99. I think that this team is better than 63-99, considering half the team that you ran out there is not on the roster this year and is not part of your plans either. And the people who, for all that it is, 63 wins, the people who caused the 63 wins are still part of this team at the end of the day. And the ones who caused the 99 losses are gone somewhere else, and they've brought in some pieces to supplement that. And Yusei Kikuchi is a huge part of supplementing that.
Yeah, and I love his attitude. I think it's a lazy mentality to just say, I'm going to go to a team that's already winning. I think that it's important to say,
careful, subtext. You're going to get all this comments.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not blaming anybody or going after anybody. What I'm saying is that I love being around people that are like, it's broken, let's fix it. If it's not built, let's build it. I love that. And I love that he said that. The thing that really caught my attention that I'd love your quick thoughts on, John, is that he said, I think this Angel team has championship ability. And so what do you think Kikuchi sees in this team currently right now that gave him a moment to pause and go, that's a really good team. I think I want to be a part of that.
You know what? I think it has a lot to do with the fact. Remember, we were talking about Seth Lugo and how when he was with the Padres and they played the Royals and he went, man, this Royals team's a lot better than their record gives them credit for. And then that was part of the reason why he wanted to join them over that offseason. Obviously, he got paid well. He got the opportunity to start. He's in the Cy Young consideration, right? So he had the best career or year of his career. And I think perhaps there's probably an element of that when it comes to Yusei Kikuchi. He faced him as a Blue Jay and got rocked. And then he faced them as an Astro, didn't get rocked, and probably realized like, hey, Zach Neto, Logan O'Hoppe, Mickey Moniak hit a home run off of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so he looked around and said, there's something good there. And I think that there's some potential there. And I think it's the very same thing that Seth Lugo said when he was a Padre about the Royals. This team comes in and it's like, man, they're really struggling. But then they put it all together in one game against you and you go, oh, you know what? There's something there. I bet they're cooking, and I'd like to be part of that. So that's encouraging to see. I think that that's something that probably happened with Yusei in this season. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up on the show, Kikuchi had one other thing to say about his performance in the last half of the year. Some pitching changes, not getting pulled from the mound, but changes to his pitching. And we will talk about all of that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. They are obsessed with finding ways to save you money on tickets. John, you and I both know that me and the Mrs. Super Halo Bro, we like to give experiences to our kids for Christmas. And Gametime has been so helpful because it's not just about sports. It's great during baseball season, but it's also great when there's no baseball season because they also have tickets for concerts, comedy, theater, so much more. I told you yesterday that I got some tickets, early birthday gift for me and the missus to go see Back to the Future. It's going to be great on stage. Can't wait to see that. Thank you for the music. And if you're looking to buy some experiences for your family this Christmas, use Gametime. This app is fantastic, and they're obsessed with finding ways to save you money. And you can download it today. And when you do, and start to purchase, look for tickets, enter our promo code, LOCKEDONMLB. That way they know you came from our show. And then they're going to give you $20 off that purchase. So you're going to get a great Christmas experience and $20 off. So fantastic with Gametime. Again, Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? Gametime.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And every dayers, we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We love having you here. Mike, we're on the way. What did we say the other? 10K by opening day. Let's do it. So if you, even if you're on the audio side, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube or on TV, one of the fast TV channels on your smart TV, come on over to YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button. That's all we ask, because it really helps out the channel, and it puts us in front of other Angel fans who might not know about Locked On Angels. So we come up in their feed based on the things that they're watching. So we hit 8K a couple of weeks ago, and that was like a big celebratory thing. And we were like, maybe we could do that by the end of the year. And then you guys stepped up and made it huge. So let's aim high, Mike. Yusei Kikuchi's got me fired up. Let's aim high. 10K by opening day. So head on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button on the Locked On Angels channel. We'd love to have you.
Speaking of Kikuchi, okay, so we heard about his comments from his interview from November 30th. He also talked a lot about what he did differently in Houston. Everybody knows, we've talked about it, he threw his slider a bit more often when he went to Houston, right? So he threw it just 16.9% of the time in Toronto. But when he got to Houston, they were like, dude, throw that sucker a whole lot more because it's really effective, right? 37.1% of the time in 10 starts with the Houston Astros. And the impact of that encouragement was tremendous, John. He had incredible numbers after that adjustment. 10 starts. His whip was .93, had an ERA of 2.70. Compare that to his time in Toronto. It was about 22 starts. He had a 1.3 whip with a 4.75 ERA. And a lot of that improvement had to do with that slider. But also, according to Kikuchi, he changed his overall approach, and he did a few things, didn't he, Johnny?
Yeah, it encourages me, because we talked about previously that the slider usage was a huge change for him, led to so much success for him over those 10 Astros starts. But then, of course, you and I spoke about, like, well, now that the book is out there, so to speak, on Kikuchi, they might have to adjust again. But then he went on to talk about 3 pivotal changes he made to his pitching that I think are going to sustain him coming into next season. First of all, Kikuchi was really good at hiding the fastball. So imagine that before you throw the pitch and you wind up and the ball is kind of behind you and the hitter can't see where it is or where it's coming from. That's a very simplified way of explaining hiding the fastball. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's coming at you. Kikuchi reduced his fastball usage from 49.6% to 41.8%. And it wasn't just in response to what was happening in the league. He had a 297 batting average against and a 516 slugging against his fastball while he was with the Blue Jays. So now limiting the exposure to the fastball and being choosy on when he uses it allowed him to improve the baseline metrics the rest of the way. After he got to the Astros, he pitched with his fastball, a 225 average against that fastball, and a 483 slugging percentage against the fastball over those final 10 starts with the Astros. So you see a very significant reduction in the production, the positive production against his fastball, using it less frequently, still having it, but using it less frequently in order to not overexpose it against other hitters.
Yeah, he hit it like in 2 different ways. He hit it in his windup, but he hit it also by not throwing it as often as he was throwing it. He also, Johnny, he leaned on what was working. And he said that was new for him because he wasn't trying new things on the mound. He just embraced the modern way of thinking. Throw your best pitch as often as you can. And that's what he did. His curveball percentage went down. It's not his most successful pitch. He can throw it, but it went down when he was with the Blue Jays. He threw it 22.7% of the time. And then with the Astros, he threw it just 9.5% of the time. And of course, he increased his slider, but he also increased his changeup. Now, the slider was from 16.9 to 37.1, but the changeup also went up. And he knows that teams are quick to adjust to him. Hitters got footage on him now. And even after seeing it over 10 starts, Kikuchi's slider still remained a very highly effective pitch. We talked about how he faced the Angels with the Blue Jays, but then faced the Angels twice with Houston. And the numbers were incredibly different because he was still able to be effective, even though people knew that it was coming. He held opponents, here, listen to this slash line, to a 172 batting average, 245 on base, and just a 212 slugging percentage.
Woo!
As they were he was generating about 29.2% swinging strikes. That's roughly the same whiff rate that he produced with the Blue Jays, which was 30.2. So he was consistent in getting the same swings and misses all throughout the season. He just was throwing better pitches with the Houston Astros.
Yeah, 172 average, 245 on base, 212 slugging. That's huge.
They were hitting the ball anywhere.
those are Mike Frisch numbers right there.
Yes.
Mike, the third thing that Kikuchi did was change his location. No, not moving from Toronto to Houston.
Right.
But what he's actually done is how he pitched with the Blue Jays and how he operated with the Astros. His location, he was willing to work the inside corner with Toronto, and then he changed his idea of where he should be locating his pitches after he was traded to Houston. So he went from locating 55.9% of his pitches on the outer half to placing 67.4% of his pitches on the outer half. So he increased where he was throwing his pitches, and this shift was backed up by the results.
Mm-hmm.
On the year, Kikuchi gave up a 591 OPS on pitches on the outer half of the plate, as opposed to a 791 OPS on the inner half. So just by virtue of where you're locating those pitches made a significant improvement for Yusei Kikuchi. Mike, question, would you be able to confidently say that Yusei Kikuchi is the opening day starter, barring injury or any setbacks or anything like that? If you're looking at this starting rotation, I know you've got Tyler Anderson as kind of the veteran guy, but Kikuchi, also a veteran guy, probably your best option that the Angels have right now.
Yeah.
Opening day starter, what do you say?
Yes, absolutely. Don't tip the cap to anybody. I think what they did last year was silly. Sandy didn't earn it. And so don't tip the cap to anybody. I don't dislike Tyler Anderson, and I kind of like Tyler Anderson. I like him as a third starter, fourth starter. I don't think he should be your opening day starter. The way that I look at it right now, as is, Kikuchi's number 1, Soriano's number 2, Tyler Anderson's number 3, and then I know that Kyle Hendricks is in there somewhere, and I know that they're talking about Reed Detmers as well, and then Jack Kahanowitz. My gut says that it's Hendricks 4 and Detmers 5. I just don't think that you completely put aside Jack Kahanowitz and what he did at the end of the year last year. Right. I think he's somebody that's going to eat innings for you. They might have him more as a 6th starter, but I don't know if he's going to develop anymore in AA or AAA. I think you have to have him in this rotation. And then what do you do with a Reed Detmers? What do you do with a Kyle Hendricks? I think having Hendricks around, starting, maybe being a long reliever is good. And maybe it might be good for Reed Detmers as well. Maybe Reed Detmers is a good long reliever to start the season and to get him warmed up, to get him ready for the long game. I don't know what their plan is there, but I know that my top 3 are going to be Kikuchi, Soriano, and Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the nod, right, that they gave Patrick Sandoval on opening day, and you're like, don't do that again. It kind of makes you wonder if Reed Detmers is part of this rotation. Is that a nod, right?
Oh
is that what, kid? I mean, he's got to earn it. And I think the Angels are in the best position when They make guys earn it, right?
Yes, because they keep saying that, right? And I think that what they've proven this offseason is they're backing up. You got to earn it. I know that during the season, there was a lot of talk about, hey, you got to earn it. You got to earn it. But then we didn't see it necessarily translate on the field all of the time.
They were so desperate for players that you couldn't really be picky and choosy about who earned it and who didn't, right?
You know what's going to be a big indicator for that, and I think it goes along with what you just said about Reed Detmers. If they're gonna really want these guys to earn it, then Anthony Rendon isn't anywhere near this starting lineup on opening day.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
And that to me is an indicator that they are actually running with that philosophy. If he's in this starting lineup, and I know that Zach Neto's hurt, and they might use that as an excuse. I just don't know, man. I don't know if I would even go in that direction. Who do they play there? I get that that's a question. They may not have a quality player there, and so you might see Rendon at third base. But if he comes back, Neto comes back, and Rendon is just consistently over at third, and Renjifo's kind of bouncing around, and Newman's kind of bouncing around, then that tells me that they're not fully sold out to that idea of you got to earn it. And if Reed Detmers is in this rotation, and he didn't just blow their minds during spring training, then again, I don't know if I believe that narrative. I need to see it. And that's something that you said early on in the offseason. Like show me, don't tell me. I want to see it. I want to see you prove it. Don't just tell me about it. I want you to walk it out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in a position to win, or you're at least pretending that you want to win, then I think Yusei Kikuchi has to be your opening day starter on opening day 2025 in Chicago. Oh, they're going against the White Sox to start the season. Let's go. That's like,
do it.
Let's have a 3-win start to the season this year.
Yes.
Come on.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And if you're a new customer right now, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Can I give you just a little hint when you go to FanDuel? Little hint. Don't bet on the 49ers. Okay, that's all I needed to say. That team drives me insane. I need a winning team, John. I need a winning team. And so the Angels have to save my life because
everyone's hurt, Mike. What do you expect?
I just want a winning team. That's what I want. And I know that you want to win as well. So FanDuel is there to help you out. Just visit their website, FanDuel.com. Join today. Again, $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, so we know what Kikuchi had to say over the weekend about his drive to win, and the adjustments he's made to be effective. Again, he really fired us up with the things he had to say in terms of, hey, I want to turn this franchise around like that. I'm going to take that on, and really, what it comes down to, Mike, is let's have that attitude for the whole team, right?
Yes.
Because otherwise, we're going to have a situation again where here's this one really standout guy and everybody else is kind of lagging behind. Yeah. I don't think that will be the case this season. I don't think that that's going to be an issue, especially, I know Zach Neto is going to start the season on the injured list, but the fact is we now have a baseline and a floor for what the young guys can do. Mm-hmm. And theoretically, they can improve from there. They've worked on their adjustments all season long. They figured out the things that they can do better at the plate, in the field, right? All of that stuff. And then you got to think about Mike Trout and, whether he's going to be healthy or not, or be able to stay on the field. But I feel like this time we're not just gambling on the fact that, oh man, if Mike Trout can stay healthy, I mean, of course he's crucial. He's part of the conversation, but really what's encouraging is the drive from Yusei Kikuchi and also the young players. Remember what Ohapi said to us at the Ohapi Bowl was, hey, nobody's happy about this record. Trust me. Like nobody, and we're not doing that again. And it was like, yeah, let's go, kid. Come on. Yeah. So all of that to say, we have to consider the rotation and what that looks like with Yusei Kikuchi in it. Now, you did say earlier your top three might be Kikuchi, Soriano, and then Tyler Anderson. And so I want to pitch the question to you. When it comes to, I don't know, maybe a 1-2 punch with Kikuchi and somebody else, who in the rotation do you see there behind Kikuchi or maybe in front, whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
And then what about like in free agency? Do you see anybody out there that makes for a good 1-2 punch with Kikuchi?
I really like Jose Soriano at number 2 because he's going to go in there and he's going to throw really hard. Kikuchi doesn't throw as hard, right? He's going to be more swing and miss. It's going to be dipping and diving. And then Soriano's going to come in the next game and he's going to throw really, really hard. It's kind of like when you have a bullpen where you have a soft toss and you have a hard thrower. And then Tyler Anderson being that third spot, again, another soft toss. So it could really throw you off, which then causes me to think, John, maybe it might be wise to have a Reed Detmers at number 4 in this rotation and Kyle Hendricks at 5 because Reed Detmers is a swing and miss guy who's going to get you to change your eye level and all of those things, but he's going to throw a bit harder than Tyler Anderson. 3 lefties in the starting rotation, some questions about that. I get all of that. I think Soriano is a great 1-2 punch for Kikuchi. And because the Angels are not going to spend a bunch of money, I know we've mentioned a lot of names in free agency. Let me give you a wild thought. Somebody that you're probably going to hate. Kikuchi goes number 1. And then number 2, you give a veteran guy with a lot of experience who you're going to take a risk with in Max Scherzer. And you have him come in and you have him throw some heat, right? And if you don't want to go Max Scherzer, I already hear the comments. I hear it. What about a Nate Eovaldi?
That's
Somebody
just
that
me.
can follow up. That's just
me,
yelling at me.
looking up. I'm looking up Scherzer's number. Where did he sit in
He was
terms
terrible.
of velo? Yeah, I just want to see.
Last 2 years, he had 9 starts and 8 starts. So he wasn't great because he was injured. But maybe even a Nate Eovaldi. You're going to have to go a little bit more money and a little bit more years with Nate Eovaldi. But I think somebody like that can come in and be a different look, be a harder thrower. I think having 2 of those guys as a complement to Yusei Kikuchi in the starting rotation would be a really smart way to go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at Scherzer. Man, that fastball velo has just fallen off, dude. Like,
well, he's 41. He's old.
Yeah, he was 94 pretty consistently through his career, touched 95, but last year 92.5 miles an hour. On the 4-seamer. So, cheap deal. He wants to finish out his career. And it's that kind of year where it's like, all right, get a body and let the kids develop. But also I would have to say, I think that you make a good point. Now, remember that Kikuchi sits about 95 on his fastball and he's hiding it more. And he's going to be a strikeout guy. The thing about Soriano is he can be a ground ball guy and a strikeout guy. He's got the ability to do both, which is phenomenal. But it also makes me think about Kohanowitz, and he's throwing in 96 mile an hour sinkers, and he's throwing hard. But if you want to give different looks between your rotation, I think having a guy who induces a lot of strikeouts and swings and misses and fly ball outs and things like that, and then you have a guy who's making you hit everything on the ground, I think that that's a good combination. So if Kikuchi's number 1, then maybe you roll the dice and you put Kohanowitz in there at number 2, because then you have a lefty, a righty, then you can go Anderson, who is also a soft tossing guy that can induce ground balls as well. So to me, I think Soriano could do the exact same thing, but if I'm going to be different than you, then I think Kohanowitz being a ground ball guy after you've just frustrated the heck out of the other team by making them swing and miss all the time. I think Kohanowitz making them put everything on the ground is also going to be frustrating. And so it just kind of piles on. So that could be an interesting combination. It will be interesting to watch how it all shakes out come the beginning of the season.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB with our friend Sully. You can find his show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show, find the show on YouTube, and get in the comment section. Again, 10K by opening day. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Even if you're an audio listener, still subscribe. Really helps out the channel. Mike, I know you get a little tease here, but I'm going to pull an audible on you this time.
Do it.
And I'm going to tease something. Harold Reynolds and Matt Vasgersian had a conversation yesterday on Hot Stove.
Okay.
And they both thought Nolan Arenado would be a good fit for the Halos. So I want to get into how realistic can that be? Could they pull off a trade? Should they even do it? So it might be a little bit of a making the case episode, but really, I think that I want to dive into, can that actually happen? Would it actually happen? So let's talk about that tomorrow in Locked On Angels. What do you think?
I love it, John, and I love Nolan Arenado. I don't know if I love him on the Angels, so you're going to have to convince me. Convince me tomorrow, John.
No, I'm not. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I'm just trying to, set a realistic expectation. I'm not trying to convince one way or the other. So until tomorrow's show, my friends, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.
Can't wait for you to convince me.
Don't you put that evil on me. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Convince me.